Hi, Bookworm buddies. Welcome back to chapters 10 and 11 of Upside Down Magic. You may notice I am not at the library. I am at my house today doing this, and I don't know how many of you know this, but I have a lot of pets. And I have a lot of pets who like to listen to stories. So right now, I have my cat Izzy is wrapped around the tripod. My dog Nessa is laying next to me, and my cat Reggie is sitting across the room listening. So if a furry friend appears, they just like stories too. All right? So, chapters 10 and 11. In the cafeteria, Nori and Elliot both got plates of mac and cheese. At the salad bar, Elliot got only cucumbers. Nori got only cherry tomatoes. He was a single veggie guy, and she was a single veggie girl. Well, tomatoes aren't really veggies, as Father liked to point out, but close enough. Plus, they both had big hair. Nori smiled at the thought. Single veggies and big hair, two things at least that they had in common besides upside down magic. Come sit with my Flair friends from ordinary school, Elliot offered. Nori nodded and followed him to a table where two girls and a boy sat, already eating. The two girls had carrots and celery and broccoli next to their mac and cheese. The boy had a huge serving of mac and cheese and 0 vegetables. Hi guys, Elliot said, setting down his tray. This is Nori. She just moved to town. He gestured to the others. Nori, this is Lacey, Zinnia, and Rune. We call ourselves the Sparkies. The girl named Lacey looked familiar. Nori drew her eyebrows together and said, This is going to sound weird, but do I know you? No. You don't know me, Lacey replied coolly, but you've bothered me. Zinnia tried to smother a giggle. She didn't try very hard. Nori looked at the spot on the table. She studied Lacey more closely. Sharp, short haircut. Tiny feet and hands. Enormous black glasses with lenses the size of large cookies. Oh, Nori exclaimed. We were in line together at Sage Academy test. You didn't get in either. Lacey looked and made a scornful sound, stabbed a piece of broccoli and said, Please. Of course I got in. But I decided not to go, Lacey said. I wanted to stay in Dunwhiddle and do Flair stuff with my besties. Nori opened her mouth to reply, but then thought better of it. She remembered Lacey's father coaching her on roasting marshmallows. She remembered Lacey's panic when her name was called and her sobs as she fled the hall. Lacey chewed on a piece of broccoli. She chewed it so aggressively, it seemed a small act of war. Then she swallowed and said, I heard about you, though, the headmaster's daughter, too wonky to get into her father's own school. Nori felt punched in the gut. She said, We don't say wonky, it's unkind. We say upside down. Ha, Zinnia said. Love it, Rune said. Adorable. Elliot turned red and looked down at his plate. Hey, guys, remember the food fight in 4th grade with the hamburgers? Epic, Rune said. Well, for 4th graders, Zinnia corrected. Things are different now, said Lacey. We're the Sparkies. I know, said Elliot. I came up with the name, duh. And it's the perfect name for us, Lacey said. She pointed to Rune, Zinnia, and herself. We are the Sparkies. You turned out to be an icy? She laughed, and her friends laughed with her. Elliot's smile dimmed. You need to go now, Lacey said. She took a bite of a baby carrot. You're embarrassing yourself, and you don't even know it. And when you embarrass yourself, you embarrass us, Zinnia said. Elliot turned to Rune, looking for some support. Well, Rune mumbled. Rune, Lacey said. Rune rubbed the back of his neck. We've been trying to ditch you all summer. Sorry, dude. We tried to tell you nicely, but you wouldn't listen, Zinnia said. Lacey took a dainty sip of milk. That's why we had to melt your bike tires. Rune chuckled. Epic. Elliot's head snapped back. That was you? He said. Wow, yeah, Epic is right. He tried to force a smile. That bike, I would have never guessed. So leave us alone already, said Lacey. Honestly, Elliot, you're so dense. No wonder you got put in UDM. A familiar tingle shivered in Nori's spine. Her vision blurred. No. Stay human. Do not flux in the lunchroom. But it was too late. Nori was out of her chair and on the floor. Her hands weren't hands anymore. They were covered in thick black fur with sharp claws. Oh, drat. She knew that animal. She'd done it before. She was a skunk. Stay away. Just leave them alone, thought girl Nori. But Skunk Nori didn't step away. She was too angry at the Sparkies. How dare they be so mean to Elliot? They were enemies. Hairless enemies. And she was a skunk. And she could do stuff to enemies. Bad stuff. Smelly stuff. No, girl Nori thought, but there was no use. Skunk Nori began to swell. She grew big to match the size of her hairless enemies, and she grew bigger and bigger until a trunk popped out of her face. An elephant trunk. Nori waved it menacingly in the air. She was Skunkafant Nori! Body of a skunk, nose and size of an elephant, and she was mad, so mad. She lifted her giant skunk tail. Nori, stop! Elliot shouted. Skunkafant Nori turned her haunches towards the hairless enemies. No, don't! Elliot cried. She aimed her Skunkafant Nori bottom. Nori, do not spray the Sparkies. Now, one of the hairless things was tugging on her trunk. Skunkafant Nori shook it off. It danced back in front of her and said, Nori, it's me, Elliot, don't do this. Elliot, she remembered Elliot. He was nice. He had walked her to school. He was a single veggie guy. You can turn back, Elliot said. I know you can before anything too disgusting happens. Oh, good idea, Nori thought. I can do this. I just want to change back. I will not spray anybody. But then, what was that? Right in front of her was a tiny, hairless thing in baggy denim dress and 2 pigtails. It was the most terrifying thing she'd ever seen. Ah, it was coming her way. Pepper, get out of here, Elliot shouted. You're fiercing. Danger, danger, must leave, danger. Elephant Nori reeled. Terror took over. Elliot tried one more time. Go away, Pepper, stop, Nori. But it was too late. Skunkafant Nori lifted her giant, bushy tail and sprayed. Chapter 11. The cafeteria was closed until further notice. The Sparkies were sent to the medical office. They had been sprayed so thoroughly there was an actual fog surrounding them. Rumor had it Nurse Riley fainted from the smell. Thanks to Elliot, Pepper had jumped for cover just in time. Sorry. Nori was human again in the middle of the chaos, and before anyone could find her or yell at her or take her to the nurse, she ran down the hall to the supply closet and hid. She was so mad at the Sparkies and very, very embarrassed. And sorry. But she couldn't hide forever. After waiting a few minutes to calm down, she took a deep breath and walked out to recess alone. She would have to face everyone eventually, and it might as well be now. In the yard stood a swing set and a big climbing structure. On the blacktop was a basketball court, where 10 or so flyers practiced flyball, hovering 2 feet up in the air. In a grassy area nearby, fluxers turned into kittens and chased one another around. Some kids were doing ordinary stuff, like jumping rope and playing tag. There's no fire and no flickering in the yard, said one of the lunch ladies, as Nori walked inside. And only non-threatening transformations. Understood? The UDM kids were standing around the swing set, with Sebastian holding on to Andre's leash. The larger group of ordinary kids were staring and pointing at them. Bunch of wonks. They could hurt somebody. That was really gross. Why do they have to be in our school? Is it even safe? The UDM kids did their best to ignore the comments. Willa and Pepper were on the swings. Marigold pushed them alternately. Elliot and Bax bounced the basketball back and forth. When Nori walked over to them, the swings slowed to a halt. Everyone glared at her. I can't believe you did that to us, Elliot hissed. You made us look like a bunch of wonkos. Dangerous wonkos, Willa added, in front of the entire school. I'm sorry, Nori said. I didn't mean to. Willa and Pepper got off their swings, and they all turned their backs on her, even Sebastian and floating Andre. Tears prickled Nori's eyes. You guys, please. Not one of them talked to her. Not one of them looked at her. And for the rest of the day, they pretended she didn't exist. Miss Starr lectured everyone about tolerance and forgiveness. She reminded them that they all had magical powers that sometimes got out of hand. That's why we're here, she said. If we can't count on one another, who can we count on? Nobody listened. Nori called home when she got to Aunt Margot's, but no one answered. Please call me back, she said to the voicemail. I can't stay here. I really can't. She watched the phone and it didn't ring. Aunt Margot got home from work just before dinner time. Let's call for pizza, she said to Nori. Should we put olives on it or pepperoni? Nori was surprised. Hawthorns cooked something nutritious, including vegetables, every night. And they all ate in the dining room with cloth napkins. Then Nori and Delilah did all the dishes before anyone was allowed dessert. Pizza again? She asked. Do you eat meat? Said Margot, looking at the takeout menu. I realize I don't even know if you eat meat. She opened the fridge. It had some fruit and milk in it, but there was nothing that could be made into dinner. Yes, pizza again, definitely. The only other place that delivers is a fancy Japanese place, and well, it's not in the budget. Do you eat pizza every night? Said Nori. Aunt Margot flushed suddenly. Don't you like pizza? I thought all kids wanted to eat pizza for every meal. I like pizza, said Nori. It's fine. Margot looked relieved. We could each eat an apple before it gets here, so we'd have some vitamins. Does that sound okay? Sure, said Nori. What about the meat? Said Margot, picking up her phone. Meat is good. You can go to town on meat. Margot ordered a small pizza with double pepperoni, and they sat on the couch and ate their apples in silence while waiting for delivery. Nori did her math and English homework. Margot looked over her taxi schedule for the next week on the computer. Nori wanted to talk to someone about Pepper and the Bitten and the Skunkafin and the Sparkies and how everyone in Upside Down Magic hated her guts right now, but she had long ago learned not to talk about her wonky magic at home. Anyhow, she didn't know Aunt Margot well, and Margot seemed absorbed in the taxi schedule, so Nori stayed silent. There was just a living room and an eat-in kitchen. Nothing was very neat, and nothing was very messy. Margot didn't have much stuff, and she clearly wasn't interested in decorating. The living room had some grown-up books, a desk area with all her taxi papers piled on it, some cozy chairs, and a couch. But there was no board games, no pets, no art supplies or family photos. None of the jolly clutter that Hawthorne and Delilah created in the back rooms of Father's house. None of the matching, careful qualities of a formal front room. Aunt Margot lives alone until I got here, Nori realized. She knew that already, of course, but suddenly she felt it. There was a knock on the door. Margot got up to pay for the pizza. Then she came back with a box and she flipped on the television. They ate without plates, just a roll of paper towels, and watched the news. It was extremely boring. Aunt Margot didn't seem to realize it was boring, though. She leaned forward and shoved pizza in her mouth almost without stopping. Flyers with passengers is very physical, she said with between the commercials. I need a lot of food at the end of the day. Oh. They watched another news segment and finished their pizza. Then Margot looked at Nori's face, really looked at her for the first time since she'd gotten home. She switched off the television. You had a bad first day, huh? Nori's throat closed suddenly. She nodded. Super rotten bad or just an ordinary new kid bad? Nori wasn't going to cry. She couldn't cry in front of a near stranger aunt, an aunt who didn't even know how bad of a wonk Nori was yet. And she had been so nice to take Nori in when her own father didn't want her. She just pressed her lips together to keep from crying. Are you going to yak? Shouted Margot suddenly. Oh dear, don't yak on the carpet. Let's just walk you over here to the floor. She pulled Nori gently by the elbow until they were standing on a patch of bare floor. Okay, yak here. Go right ahead. This is good yak territory. Watch out for your shoes. Nori burst out laughing. I'm not going to yak, she said. You're not? No. Really? Really. Margot smiled. Oh, I thought that was your about to yak face. No. I thought the double pepperoni was a bad idea, maybe. No, it was good pepperoni. You made me a little nervous there, said Margot. That face. No, it was just, that was my super rotten bad day face, Nori admitted. Oh. Margot looked at her expectantly. There was silence, and then Nori blurted out, I hurt a girl's feelings, but not on purpose, and I didn't know how to say sorry. And then I turned into a Bitten and ate some books, and people thought it was weird, but then at lunch I turned into a skunkafant, and they had to close the cafeteria, and it was really badly smelly, like no smell you ever sniffed, and I couldn't help it. And Elliot's mad at me, and the Sparkies are mad at me, and the whole Upside Down class is mad at me, and they think I am the wonkiest kid in the whole wonky classroom. Aunt Margot sat down on the edge of the sofa. Zamboozle, she said finally. That was a super rotten day to end all super rotten days, I think. Yeah. Okay. How can I help? Father always told his children they had to help themselves. He couldn't do things for them or make things easier. Helping themselves was a way that they would learn. Nori kind of thought he was right about that, but it was nice to hear these words from Margot now. I don't know, Nori squeaked in reply. Then let's go for a fly, said Margot, pulling her coat from the closet. Come on, bundle up. Aren't you tired? Not anymore. I got rest. I ate pizza. Here, wear some gloves. They bundled up and went outside into Margot's backyard. Then they levitated straight into the air together, not too high, and from there floated gently over the town of Dunwhiddle. Margot pointed out the pharmacy, a street full of restaurants and shops, and the park with its pond full of ducks. A few other flyers passed by, enjoying the evening light. One of them had a canary on a long leash, taking her for an outing. Others were alone, since most flyers couldn't take passengers. Margot waved at them and called out, This is my niece Nori, the one I told you about. Nori waved too, and the flyers waved back. Margot seemed proud of her, or at least glad to have her. They flew along the creek that meandered through town. They flew out over the town's swimming pool, which was empty, and a flyball court at the high school. After a while, they came back to Margot's house. They took hot showers and put on pajamas, and then Nori went to sleep in her little iron bed in a room with bright green walls. Much to her surprise, she felt okay. But the next morning at school was just as bad as the first day. Today we're going to do math and geography and vocabulary just like any other class in Miss Starr, but I like to get creative with literature. She smiled. You're not just going to read poems and write essays. You're going to read poems and do interpretive dance. Huh? Said Elliot. Part of developing your upside down magic is getting in touch with your emotions. You want to understand your feelings so you don't turn into a bitten or a rock or cause a rainstorm when you don't want one or shrink someone's car. UDM is not about controlling your feelings, so it's understanding them. Whatever, rumbled Bax. I don't have feelings. Then he turned into a rock and had to be taken to Nurse Riley. Marigold took him in a wheelbarrow. Miss Starr had brought to the class this morning for this very purpose. The rest of the students read a poem called The Lost Mermaid. Then Miss Starr played ocean music through the speakers and called them to the carpet area of the classroom. She can't find her parents. Feel her sadness, cried Miss Starr. She dropped to her knees and made swimming motions with her arms. Feel her panic. Feel her terror. Feel whatever the poem made you feel. Get in touch with it. I didn't sign up for dance class, whined Andre from the ceiling. Give it a chance, said Miss Starr. You can be a hungry shark if you want to, or an angry shrimp, or a stoic rock. On second thought, don't be a rock. We never want to make fun of Bax. There's no such thing as mermaids, Willa grumbled. Not true, said Miss Starr. No one has ever seen one in 100 years, but they did exist. Sebastian rolled around on the carpet, apparently feeling feelings. Pepper scrunched up into a ball with her head between her knees. Nori pretended to be sad seaweed. She swayed over to Elliot, waving her hands swishingly above her head. I'm really, really sorry, she said, about the skunk event and your Sparky friends. Go away, Elliot said. I am busy being a blobfish. A blobfish? Nori studied Elliot. He was leaning against the wall, not doing a thing. Elliot became even more blob-like. Yes, and I'm feeling annoyed. I wonder if you can guess why. Because blobfish look like they're made out of dough? Nori said hopefully. Nope, that's not why. He scowled and said, you're not going to turn into a blob kitten now, are you? A blitten? Nori shivered. Gross. Can't make any promises, she said, but I'll try not to. And just then, the ceiling opened and rain poured down on all of them. A lot of rain. Sorry, yelled Willow. No need to apologize, cried Miss Starr, running to grab the umbrellas. This is a teachable moment. Let's talk about why the rain happened. Let's understand the connection between your feelings and your magic. The rain stopped. Everyone got their spare clothes from their cubbies and the janitor was called again. But even though it was Willa who caused the problem, it was still Nori that no one wanted to talk to. The days passed and nothing got better. When it came time for class to study magic, Miss Starr told her students to do headstands. They all had to come to the rug where Miss Starr urged them to flip their worlds upside down. She had Andre stand on his feet like a bat with his head downward. She gave him a closed umbrella as a prop. No one except Willow was very good at it. Most of the students had to lean against the wall. Bax turned into a rock every time he went upside down. Every single time. Then he's taken off to Nurse Riley in a wheelbarrow, and after about an hour, he'd return to class in his human form, usually with a green medicine mustache. It seemed like a hopeless cause, but Miss Starr made them all keep practicing. Headstands calm our brains and relieve stress, she insisted. More importantly, they let you see things upside down. They give you another way of thinking about the world. It really helps those of us with upside down magic, I promise. Nori wasn't sure the teacher knew what she was talking about. Miss Starr, she said one day when they were all upside down, except Bax, who was a rock, and Sebastian, who was on wheelbarrow duty. Did headstands help you with your magic? Miss Starr was in the center of the carpet doing a perfect headstand. It helped me tremendously, she said. Because your magic is upside down too, said Marigold. Absolutely. That's why I wanted to become a teacher. Just tell us what it is, begged Willa. Please, we know it's different, but different how? It's a magic that, well, might disrupt the classroom when I bring it in, said Miss Starr mysteriously. I want us to all get settled before I share it with you. I bet you're a special kind of flicker, guessed Elliot. No, some kind of fluxer, guessed Andre. No, a fuzzy, guessed Pepper. I will tell you when it's time, said their teacher. Now, I want you to all come down to the floor. Andre, I'll get the bag of bricks for you to hold. We're going to do a group trust exercise. Everyone groaned. Every day when school let out, Nori raced to Aunt Margot's and called home. And every day she reached the voicemail. Please call me back, Father, she said. It's awful here, Hawthorne, she said, and I miss your cooking. The other kids talk about me when they think I can't hear, Delilah, she said. They all really messed up. I just want to come home, please? No one called back. 2 weeks after arriving on a Saturday morning, Aunt Margot made a call of her own. "Stone," she said sharply, "I know you're there. I know you're letting your calls go to voicemail, and I'm sure you've told Hawthorne and Delilah not to pick up. This is unacceptable. Nori is your daughter. You need to stop acting like a dimwit. I know you have my number, so call us back." But Father didn't, and after 2 hours of waiting, Aunt Margot punched in a different number. "It's time for you to meet Nori," Aunt Margot said to the person on the phone. "Can you come get us?" She paused and said, "Yes, perfect. Give us 5 minutes. 6 if you want me to brush my hair." She laughed and said, "Love you too," and hung up. "We're going out to lunch," she said to Nori. "Fig's coming to get us in his car." "Who's Figs?" Nori asked. She was crumpled up on the couch, feeling sorry for herself. "He's my boyfriend. You'll adore him. He's taking us to a new bake shop that 2 of our Flair friends just opened. The cinnamon rolls are supposed to be wonderful. You can handle a cinnamon roll for lunch, right?" "Maybe." Nori smiled for the first time that day. Father always insisted on vegetables and protein for lunch, so no one got weighed down with too much sugar and starch. "But what if Father calls back? Or Hawthorne and we're not here to pick up?" "Piffle," said Margot. "I'll take my cell. Figs is already on his way. Oh, there he is." A large brown and white dog jumped through the open window into the living room, barking and wagging his tail. "Figs!" Aunt Margot scolded. "Stop showing off, you big hairball." She turned to Nori. "Figs has been waiting to show you his St. Bernard since the first day you got here. He just got it licensed, but I told him to wait. I want you to have a chance to get settled." Figs bounded over to Nori and grinned a doggy grin. Then he backed up and shook his body so that his fur stood out all over. And a moment later, he changed into a broad-shouldered, olive-skinned man. He wore jeans and a black t-shirt and a big smile. "Hello, Nori," he said, reaching out his hands. "I'm Figaro Russo. I run the pharmacy in town. We have aspirin, wart medicine, burn ointment, catnip, you name it. We sell candy, too. You should come by and spend your allowance. You're giving her an allowance, right, Margot? She needs one." "Fine," said Margot. "I'll give her an allowance. Now can we go? I'm starving." "Let's do it," Figs said, clapping his hands. "Cinnamon rolls, here we come." They had a wonderful lunch of starch, grease, and sugar. Figs talked about fluxing a lot. He was licensed in 4 different dog shapes. "Never could get my kitten right, though," he said. "I only was ever a fluxer in North America without a cat license. And I haven't gotten any large carnivores either, but oh well. What would I do with them anyway? Dogs just come more naturally to me. I'm working on Chihuahua. I think it might be useful to a really little dog. But so far, no luck." On the way home in Fig's van, Aunt Margot's cell rang. She looked at it, raised her eyebrows, and handed it to Nori. Nori's heart jumped. She put the phone to her ear. "Hello? Nori, we're on speakerphone," Delilah said. "Who's on speakerphone?" said Nori. "Me and Hawthorne. What about Father?" "In a meeting," Delilah said. "You know Father, always working even on weekends." "Hi, Nori," Hawthorne said. "Sorry it's taken us so long to call you back. Father wanted us to let you settle in first, but after Aunt Margot's message, we decided we should sneak a call." "Well, it's about time," Nori almost said, but she didn't. What if they hung up? She would make the best of things. She would. "Aunt Margot just took me to a really nice lunch. It had no vegetables at all." "Lucky," said Delilah. "How's the house?" Hawthorne asked. "Is your room very small?" "How's your new school?" said Delilah. "Is it depressing?" "We want you back," Hawthorne swore. "It's just hard to convince Father." "Well, we might have an idea," Delilah added. "We thought if you could get control of animal bodies, so you didn't chew things and set things on fire, and if you could get yourself doing really good kitten without any weird things popping out — Father said your kitten was really good until it got wonky — then you could get yourself tested out of the Upside Down Magic class. You could go to a class with normal kids," said Hawthorne, "and you could work on being more normal and reapply to Sage Academy." "Reapply?" Nori said. The other end of the line, she heard a faint sound of a door being opened. "Is that Father?" "Oh, no," Delilah said, her voice going up in a pitch. "We have to go." "Get out of that special class," Hawthorne said. "Just stop being wonky and come home. We miss you." "Hawthorne? Delilah?" Nori heard her father say. "Who is on that phone?" There was a click, and then nothing. Nori squeezed her eyes shut in the back of the van. Figs and Aunt Margot were talking about how they could make cinnamon rolls at home. Aunt Margot was saying the recipe sounded too hard and they should just make cinnamon toast like everyone else did. Figs was saying you shouldn't avoid trying something just because it was hard. Nori only half listened. She was thinking about Hawthorne and Delilah's plan. First, she had to learn to be normal. Yes, then she had to get out of the Upside Down Magic class and be put in a regular Fluxer class. She had to learn to be even more normal in Fluxer class, and then she'd reapply to Sage Academy. She could even do 5th grade over again. She wouldn't mind. But if Nori could do all of that, if Nori could be normal, surely Father would let her come home. All right, friends, that was a long chapter. I will see you tomorrow.